Well, hello everybody, and welcome to 1985. For those of you that have been following this series so far, I am going through my rock and metal vinyl collection and just showing everything I have from a particular year in alphabetical order. I've done all the even years so far, and they're all on the playlist on my profile if you want to go back and have a look at those. But I'm going to switch the camera around so I can do a flip through video, settle back and enjoy what I have from 1985. Another fantastic year for rock and metal. What stands out for me pulling all these albums up together is, as well as a lot of the classics I've got here, I seem to have picked up a few more obscure albums that I certainly had never heard of in the 80s that I found through researching on the internet, watching other people's videos and what have you. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I always enjoy chatting with people, always reply to every comment that I see. And that's why I do this, just for the interaction and the fun of it. Really, I get a real kick out of showing things from my collection and chatting with you. As usual, there will no doubt be one or two clangers in here. I've picked things from the wrong year. I've missed albums that I've got in my collection because I've not catalogued properly. So I really appreciate all the comments, and I mean even those ones that point out some obvious mistakes that I've made, because it probably means I've just typed something wrong into my collection database, and I can go ahead and rectify it. So sit back and watch the show. AC/DC, Fly on the Wall, Accept, Metal Heart. I know this is a lot of people's favourite Accept album. I think this is the one that probably broke big stateside. Good album, but not my favourite, that's for sure. Kaizokuban, the butchered titled MIDI LP, live EP, actually from Japan. Aerosmith, Done with Mirrors. Because it's not classed as their comeback album, even though it was upside down. Done with Mirrors, even though it was not the album that they broke through again, like Permanent Vacation, which came a year after or so, a couple of years later. Alaska, The Pack. I had to spin this one again tonight because I couldn't remember what it was like at all. I know it was it's Bernie Marsden project. I thought this was one I would probably end up selling on, but I quite enjoyed it tonight. It's kind of a mixture of hard rock, AOR in it as well, which normally isn't my thing, but there we go. Alcatraz, Disturbing the Peace. This is their second album, one with Steve Vai on, Graham Bonnet on vocals. Anthrax, Armed and Dangerous EP, Joey Belladonna's debut release with the band, and this was the first piece of Anthrax vinyl I ever owned. Had this one since around 1986, I think, but it's an original pressing. Spreading the Disease, undoubtedly one of my favourite albums of all time, certainly my favourite album by a thrash metal band, that's for sure. But I know there aren't many of you that agree with me on that one, but it really doesn't matter, it's my favourite. I've actually got 3 copies of that Music for Nations version, but I'm only showing one today, and I've also got the picture disc as well. Armoured Saint, Delirious Nomad, another great album. Armoured Saint, again, I think never became as big as they could have been. They were kind of that mixture between, somewhere between metal and bordering on thrash, but still fantastic band. Just like my spoiler cover this time, so you're not getting to see ahead. This is Artillery, Fear of Tomorrow, Danish thrash metal. This is the Back on Black reissue from a few years ago. Absolutely fantastic album. This is also a Back on Black reissue. This is UK proto thrash, I guess. Atomcraft with Future Warriors. How metal is that? Again, a great album. Very sort of Venom-esque, I say. Now, as an album that features in any So Bad It's So Good cover video, or at least should do, is Attacker Battle at Helm's Deep, US metal. Decent album, but the cover is just superb. Black Lace, get it while it's hot. Whenever I think of Black Lace, I think of that awful UK 80s pop outfit. But no, this is female fronted metal from, I don't know where they're from actually. Where are they from? Maybe Italian. That may just be a poor guess. It's on Mausoleum, one of my favourite 80s labels that I collect from. Collect anything on Mausoleum if I see it. I think this one might be Mausoleum as well. This is Bloody Six and In the Name of Blood. Great, fantastic, yeah, Mausoleum. Fantastic second tier heavy metal. Mausoleum are one of these labels that seem to pick up any band that couldn't get a major label release somewhere else, and it's probably not surprising at the time they went bust, but you know, 30-40 years later there are some real gems to be found if you look for them. New wave of British heavy metal outfit, Chateau, sorry, with Highly Strung. This is on Ebony Records, and believe it or not, it is a metal band, even though the cover may suggest otherwise. The Cult, love, do like a bit of Cult. I picked up a few of their albums in the last few years, but this is a great album. This is one I picked up in the 80s as well. I had Eat 'em and Smile, and I was desperate for anything David Lee Roth at the time. So this is the Crazy from the Heat EP. I was very surprised when I heard how kind of as far from metal as it could possibly be, but I grew to love it all the same. What else do we have here? Demon, Heart of Our Time. This was VCLT from our own Mark G with a C. It's interesting. It's obviously, it's still got Dave Hill on vocals from Demon, but so it sounds vocally like Demon, but it's musically it's a little bit more like Magnum, more sort of progressive rock sound to it than the early Demon new wave of British heavy metal sound. Dio, Sacred Heart. Dokken and the Lock and Key. Dokken are one of these bands. They're okay. I don't actively go out seeking them, but if I do come across an album of theirs that I don't have, I would pick it up if it was a good price. Canada's Exciter, Long Live the Loud. I think this is the only Exciter album I have on vinyl, so desperate to try and get the first release, especially the Music for Nations version of that, but very, very hard to come by and expensive these days. This was also very hard to find. The original Music for Nations press of Exodus, Bonded by Blood. One of those sort of fist pumping moments when you win the bid on eBay and you get it for a fairly decent price for an album you thought you may never actually get in your collection. So this is Fate. I actually picked this up in a charity shop, Oxfam shop. This is Hank Sherman from Merciful Fate, band that he went on to form after he left Merciful Fate, obviously just called Fate, and nothing like Merciful Fate at all. A little bit more on the sort of soft rock side, but an okay listen every now and again. Hat-Trick, The Beast. The look is kind of somewhere between Kiss and Twisted Sister, and the album is a little bit more on the Twisted Sister side, I'd say, more sort of straight up heavy metal as well. But good album. Nonetheless. And the last one from this batch, Helloween EP, 5 tracks, obviously the Kai Hansen on vocals era. The full-length Helloween album, Walls of Jericho. Where it all began for me, the first heavy metal album I ever owned. And this is my original copy from that day, still intact with the booklet and the other sleeves and everything. in great shape as well, surprisingly, because I played this to death. In fact, the tennis rackets I was strumming along with as my guitar fared worse than this album has over the years. One of my favourite live album of all time. I also have the 2014 or 2015 reissue, which is more my playable copy these days. Jack Starr's Burning Star, Rock the American Way. Jack Starr originally from Virgin Steel. That's a good album, actually. Good sort of metal rock album. Keel, I kind of put these guys in the same bucket as Dokken, really. Not a band I would actively go out and seek or even listen to that often, but if I saw some more stuff of theirs around, I would probably pick it up at a decent price. King Cobra, Ready to Strike. Decent debut album from King Cobra, not like that abomination of a second album. Obviously we've got Johnny Rod and Carmine Appice on here as well. Famous for other bands more than King Cobra. Terrible cover. I don't know what they thought of when they put this together. So this is Legs Diamond during their sort of 80s comeback period. Clearly the 70s rockers trying to look like 80s rockers, and the end result is 70s rockers trying to look like 80s rockers, really. I really only bought this because it was on Music for Nations. That's when I was on my Music for Nations binge. Thankfully that's over now, and I'm going for quality of albums rather than just the label that they're on. Metal Blade, a reissue of Lizzie Borden's Love You to Pieces. I do need to pull out the Lizzie Borden albums I've bought recently and give them another spin, because I haven't given them enough time or attention, but I really do like them. One of the most famous Japanese bands to have made an impact on the West. Thunder in the East from Loudness. Again, Music for Nations press. You'll see a lot of them. I think I've probably got most from 1985. Magnum on Stories, Tunnels and Ice. Absolutely fantastic album. Impossible to read the lyrics, but you can understand Bob Catley's voice, so no problem there then. Megadeth, Killing Is My Business, and Business Is Good. Another Music for Nations pressing. Debut album, everybody knows that. Motley Crue, Theatre of Pain. I bought this, I think, from W.H. Smith's in Cardiff when it came out. I was a massive fan of Shout at the Devil, still am a massive fan of Shout at the Devil, and I'd never seen a picture of Motley Crue before, though, that I remember, and that for a sheltered upbringing for a boy in Cardiff, I almost didn't buy the album based on what Vince Neil was wearing, which is kind of ridiculous. It's I think a much maligned album, but I've had it since 1985, and I've grown to love it. I know it like the back of my hand, warts and all. One of my favourite covers. You've seen me show this one before, and my commentary on it. I could kind of tell what they were trying to go for here, but the perfectly laundered, ripped T-shirt, pure white, would be a valid addition to any washing powder commercial. But this is Predator with Easy Prey. So it's a half decent album. Picture, Dutch band. This is Traitor. I'm going to keep this one out and give this one a spin, because I honestly can't remember what this one sounds like. So Eternal Dark is the one I'm most familiar with. This is a fantastic album. I don't think this was as good, but certainly needs more of my attention now I've pulled it out. Another stellar release from 1985, Q5, Steal the Light. Sort of melodic heavy metal. These guys have only ever played in the UK once, and that was in Edinburgh a couple of years back, as they were stopping over to go to some festivals in Germany, having, I think, recently reformed, and they played all this stuff, and it was absolutely fantastic. Great band. Rat, Invasion of Your Privacy, a cover, I think I mentioned this before, a cover I just didn't get for years. I did not understand what this had to do with invasion of privacy, because obviously there's a lady getting dressed in her bedroom, but the cameraman's in the same room with her, so she knows he's there. So I thought it should have been shot from through the windows, with somebody sort of like a voyeur peeking in. And it wasn't until very, very recently that I noticed the security camera right up in the top right, and it all made sense after that. But there we go. Second album from Rogue Male. This is Animal Man. Not as raw and as in your face as the first album. The first album's a lot more sort of Motorhead-esque, but Rogue Male are a decent band from the 80s that could have been a bit bigger. Maybe it was their look that put them off, because they weren't glam, they weren't sleaze, they were kind of straight up heavy metal, hard rock, almost speed metal. But I think the image maybe let them down. This is supposed to be new wave of British heavy metal, but what it is absolutely horrendous. Roon Staff, Blind By. It's awful. This is going to be on my purge list for next year. It's very, very melodic, very keyboardy, very soft, very awful. Did I mention that? Sabotage, The Dungeons Are Calling. I think this was VCLT from Bev over at Clark Vision. Absolutely fantastic introductory release, EP, mini LP maybe, from Sabotage on Music for Nations. Saxon, Innocence is No Excuse. This is the period of Saxon I don't really click with. This and Destiny as well, I think, are two of the poorer albums. But, you know, if you like Saxon and you're a completist like me, you need it in your collection. Scorpions, Worldwide Live. I love this live album. I don't know if it's a single show or whether it's heavily dubbed, or all the usual complaints that people make about live albums, but I think it's an excellent live album. Slayer, Hell Awaits, a band I wasn't into at all in the 80s, didn't get them at all. I find some of the really early stuff a little bit too rough and ready, and it's not something I listen to a lot, but occasionally I'll spin it out and enjoy it when I do. Now, Spellbound, Rockin' Reckless. I think I even bought this one just for the cover alone, because I just had to hear what a band that looked like that sounded like, and they pretty much sound like what they look like. They're a Swedish metal band. They're not full on hair metal, they're a bit more sort of rock and roll kind of feel to them, but it's a thoroughly enjoyable album. Another of my original 80s collection, Stormtroopers of Death, Speak English or Die. Obviously famous among the metal community, everybody knows about that one. And this album, this is the one that's going to get me all the thumbs down, because I don't really like Stryper. I've got a few albums in the collection. I really did try, but and this is what get me the thumbs down, because every time I mention that, I think there are some great Christian metal bands out there, but to me they are metal bands that are Christian, and they sing about Christian themed songs, whereas Stryper I always thought were more a bunch of Christians that wanted to be a metal band, so they never lived up to it. Bit too sickly sweet, again no pun intended, and also the imagery as well, with what's all the guns and things, and they weren't supposed to kill anybody. But there we go, lots of people do love this album. So I'm probably in the minority on that one, but I don't really care, and it will be probably in my purge next year. Last box, and hopefully you're still with me after my damning indictment of Stryper, but this time we have Sugarcreek. Now, again, this is pretty awful, although it's awful for me because it's not something that I would listen to. But again, I was sucked in by the Music for Nations label. You can tell by that look. I would have been put off had it not been on Music for Nations, and I was a So I was trying to get as many as I possibly could on that label. It's more sort of an alternative kind of rock. It's just not my thing. It's probably really, really good, and I bet their mums absolutely love it. Surgeon, another Music Foundations. This one isn't too bad, actually. This one's got Jack Ponty on it, who was good mates with John Bon Jovi. In fact, there's a version of Shot Through the Heart. I believe they may have wrote that one together. I think I read something about that, or collaborated on it, or been in the same band at the time when that song was written. Obviously, it appeared on Bon Jovi's album the year before, another Music Foundations. But it's that kind of sound to it, sort of like a John Bon Jovi-esque sound. This is a Raw Power compilation, double LP, Armor Plate by Tank. So Raw Power, they put together these compilations, and they're all from really early albums. They tend to be a few obscure tracks as well, so they bought the cheapest ones they possibly could. But it's got some good classic Tank songs on there. Well worth grabbing if you can. A mighty Thor from Canada, Only the Strong. This is a great album. I do like this one. Some killer tunes on here and just good fun heavy metal. I've got another Thor album next, but this is live in Detroit. A great single disc live album. You can't fault this one at all. VCLT from Greg the Egg. So I was delighted to get that one. Thrasher. This is, it's not really a super group. It's, if you're familiar with the current sort of thrash metal project called Metal Allegiance, this is like the 1985 heavy metal equivalent of Metal Allegiance. It's put together by Carl Kennedy of the Rods, and it's just all the songs are original, I think, but there's just a collaboration of lots of different. Rhett Forrest is on here, Dan Spitz of Anthrax is on here, Billy Sheehan on here. There's a whole host of different musicians on every single song. It's a really good album. I enjoy it. I've said that a few times, haven't I? Twisted Sister, Come Out and Play. This is really where I lost Twisted Sister, I have to be honest. Don't really appreciate this album that much, and everything beforehand absolutely love. I should have stopped there, but I didn't. Another band I should have stopped earlier with, Tigers of Pang Tang, The Wreckage, and it's a good title for the album actually, because it is a bit of a car crash. We've only got Brian Dick, the drummer, the original member, even Rob Weir, who was one of the founding members, who reformed Tigers in the last sort of 20 years, and they're a great band now, absolutely great band now with Rob Weir back in. But even he'd given up after The Cage, which was, The Cage is worse than this one, but this is pretty bad. Last few. Music Foundation says, Welcome to the Metal Zone. Brilliant cover, certainly for a compilation. And a great list of bands on here. Rogue Male, Exciter, Merciful Fate, Q5, Wendy O, okay, not great. Tank, Megadeth, Wasted, Battle Axe, Sabotage, Loudness, some Exodus, Earthshaker, Rods, Jack Starr. There's an Alaska track on here as well, which I mentioned them earlier, but all tunes I think from around the 1985, 84, 85 period. That's a really good compilation. This is also a compilation. This is one of my favourite covers as well of all time. That's just awesome. I would put that up on my wall, but my wife would probably take it down straight after. This is a real hodgepodge of songs. Okay, released in 85, obviously, but we've got songs here from Black Sabbath in 1971, Judas Priest in 74, all the way up to 84 with newer tracks from Wasted and Thor. There's some Venom on here as well. Metallica, Hanoi Rocks. I mean, how often do you get a compilation with Hanoi Rocks followed by Metallica, followed by Venom, followed by Black Sabbath, and Motorhead as well? It's a good compilation. It's just a very strange one because it doesn't seem to be connected with any one label or any one period of time. Wasp's second album, The Last Command. Some great tracks on that one. Probably not the best album, but still, I'm glad to have it. Warlock's second album, Hellbound. Another good one. I do enjoy this one as well. The Good, the Bad and the Wasted by Wasted. Obviously Wasted with Pete Way and Finn on vocals, and he's from Scotland. Music Foundations, but I've always been a fan of Wasted, so I would have picked this up regardless of the label it was on. Last two or three. Weapons, Captive Audience. This was a blind buy, and I'm sure it was advertised as thrash, but it's not thrash, it's more straight up metal. And I'm struggling to remember what it sounds like. I'm pretty sure it sounds like it looks like it's going to sound like, but I'm going to leave this one out and give this one a spin as well. World War 3, I think these were one and done band. I really enjoy this album. It's a really, really good listen with the Hammer brothers. Obviously Gary must be the oldest one. I've said this before because he's got the nickname Sledge, probably the coolest nickname you could have with Hammer. Any suggestions? Dan Hammer doesn't seem to have a name, but any suggestions for a little brother Hammer, leave them in the comments below. And last but not least, Yngwie J, with Rising Forces Marching Out. Noodling, arrogant noodling to the max, but you know, he's got who's on vocals for this one? It's Jeff Scott Soto, isn't it, on vocals for this one? So yeah, I love the songs, I love the melodies that go with it, and I forgive the overindulgent guitar wankery because they're proper songs with you know, lyrics and all sorts of stuff with it. So anyway, that's 1985 done. More. Thanks for watching. As usual, let me know which are your favourite albums from 1985, which I'm perhaps missing from my list. This has been a great way for me to check my my record catalogue, because in the past some of you guys have called out albums that I've actually got that I've not catalogued for some reason, and allowed me to go back and rectify things. So it's therapy for me as well. So thanks for watching. Catch you again soon with another year. Quick addendum, I did forget to show Robin Trower Beyond the Mist. This is a Music Foundations release. I think it might have been the first thing that he had out on a UK label. Maybe it's a mixture of, there's a couple of studio tracks and the rest is live. It's not too bad a listen. I've heard a lot of great things about Robin Trower, but this certainly did nothing to make me want to go out and grab some more. I think a lot of you, dare I say, older guys, older than me, not many of you there, will probably could recommend some earlier stuff from Robin Trower, but the cover for this is absolutely fantastic. Job done. That's 85. See ya.